Let's go eat some Italian food. If you haven't seen this week's episode of Diamond is Unbreakable, don't watch the rest of this review, as it has one of the greatest twist endings that I think I've seen from the entire series. This is probably one of my favorite JoJo episodes ever, if only for the fact that it was just absolutely hilarious. And the title of this week's episode, Let's Go Eat Some Italian Food, could not be more truer than for this episode right here, because that's exactly what happens. Josuke and Okios go to this brand new Italian restaurant run by this chef by the name of, get ready for this, Tonio Trendy. Now, after watching episodes of JoJo, I always like to do a little bit of research because I do not read the manga version. I only watch the anime, and I know that a lot of the times they change the name of the characters and the stands for copyright reasons. And in the manga version of the series, this character goes by the name of Antonio Trussardi, or just Tonio. And in this version, they call him Tonio Trendy. This is one of the few instances where I just really like the brand new name. Just saying his name brings joy to my heart. And so does this week's episode, because, like I said, it's basically all about Josuke and Okios going to an Italian restaurant and eating and looking at delicious food for about 20 minutes. And then there's the twist at the very end of the episode. But before we get to that, let me give you a little more detail about this one. So, they go to this restaurant, which is unlike any restaurant anyone has ever seen before. There is no menu. The chef actually creates the menu depending on who he is serving. In particular, Okios this episode gets fed because he's starving. Josuke just decides to have a little bit of coffee, a cappuccino, if you will. Now, Okios is going to be fed personally by this chef, who actually ends up reading his palms and learning about all of his ailments, and every single dish that he serves him is supposed to actually heal his ailment in some sort of weird, crazy way. It almost seems like too much of a miracle, like this guy might actually have stand abilities, but he might also have an ulterior motive as well, as they've made it perfectly clear that stand users are going to be drawn towards another. And then there's Tonio Trendy, a character who spends most of the episode looking evil and looking like he's up to something, only to turn out to be one of the nicest characters that we've seen from the entire series. Another thing that I really liked about this episode is that it kind of reminded me of watching Food Wars or Toriko, because whenever they showed the food, it looked so damn delicious. They even showed the ingredients right there so you at home can make it. And what's more, this food is really good for you. There's a lot of ailments that Okios has in this episode, which end up getting healed because of this food, which at first almost seems way too good to be true, and there's a lot of moments that are frankly kind of messed up. Like in this one instance where he drinks this water, which is absolutely amazing. The best mineral water that he's ever had. It almost looks like it's about to literally shrivel his eyes up and mummify them as he is crying over how delicious it is, when suddenly he is brought back to life, his eyesight is better, and he feels like he just slept for 10 hours. He's incredibly rested. His teeth are healed, his shoulder is fixed, his stomach is okay, and the athlete's foot is all gone thanks to the miracle food of Antonio Trendy, who doesn't really have any evil motive. He simply just wants to serve good food. And they really do a good job of throughout the episode trying to make it seem like he's up to something, and Josuke definitely doesn't trust this guy. I think it's the final scene of the episode that really sells this moment. It all begins when Josuke goes back into the kitchen and he sees him in this room with this cute little puppy, which is eating some of the food that he created, when suddenly the guts start to explode out of this puppy's body in a scene which frankly isn't all that shocking, because in JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, they just love to fuck up cute animals for some sick-ass reason. Okios ends up eating the same thing, and that's exactly what happens to him. All of his guts and innards start to explode out. They're all censored, but you can pretty much get that it's just plain disgusting. And then you have Tonio Trendy, who's getting ready to beat the hell out of Josuke, when suddenly you realize he's actually just holding a bar of soap, and he wants Josuke to wash his hands because he's in the kitchen. Gotcha! So what's the rundown on this week's episode of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Diamond is Unbreakable? What more can I really say about this week's episode? It's built around the amazing twist which appears at the end, which also just happens to be hilarious, because he was also helping out the puppy, he was genuinely wanting to help out Okios, and he just wanted Josuke to wash his hands when he's in the kitchen. You just can't help but laugh at this episode right here, and it's so different than some of the previous episodes that we've seen from the series, built entirely around the comedy, but still managing to have some of that shock value that JoJo's Bizarre Adventure is known for. At the end of the episode, when the puppy exploded, I was just like, what the fuck? Why am I even watching this series? Every episode I see an animal get mutilated, and it always just turns my stomach. Thank God that adorable puppy is going to be fine. Otherwise, the rest of the episode was just fun. Okuyas is a really great character, and he's extremely expressive, so seeing him react to all of this food and tasting it for the first time is just glorious. You're right there with him, and you immediately want to start eating this food as well. Anime makes food look so good. Tonio Trendy's stand powers are also really interesting. They're basically these tiny little tomatoes with faces, which just fly around and apparently are like the ultimate miracle cure for food. He uses them in preparation for all of his dishes. It's just strange. Tonio Trendy, the stand-using chef from Naples who just wants to serve you delicious food that's good for the soul and for your body. It looks like this is going to be the last episode of Diamond Does Unbreakable that we're going to get. That's a little more on the humorous side of things. Right after this, we're going to be jumping into this brand new story with this weird electrical stand, the Red Hot Chili Pepper, which is traveling around. You have Jotaro at the end of the episode is meeting with this one mysterious guy from the Speedwagon Foundation, telling him to stay away from power lines, otherwise he might get shot. So this episode was just hilarious. It'll also make you really hungry, and it's a great showcase for why this series can just pretty much play in every single genre that it wants, including the comedy side. So I'm going to give this episode right here a 5 out of 5. I loved the whole thing. Visually speaking, all the food looked great. Okuyas's expressions were great. Them trying to paint Tonio Trendy as a villain throughout the episode was hilarious, and then finding out that he's actually just a good guy at the end was a fantastic twist, easily making this one of the most unique episodes of the entire JoJo anime series. Check it out, JoJo fans! But let's face it, you already have. So you heard my thoughts on this week's episode, but I want to hear from you guys. What did you think of this week's episode of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure? Were you shocked by the ending with Tonio Trendy? Did you like the humor in this episode? Did you not really care for it? Did you have a favorite scene in this week's episode? Are you craving some Italian food right now? And what do you want to see from the rest of Diamond is Unbreakable? Please tell me in the comments section below. Thank you for watching this review. I really appreciate it. If you want to help support Super Kami Guru 9000, you can do that in a number of ways. Please leave a comment on the video, share this video with a friend, or best of all, make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. You can also check out a lot of cool links in the description box below. Thank you guys again for watching, and as always, stay dandy, baby!